everybody, this is Elissa from Mink Arts and Crafts. Oh, you are not jumping on that table. Sorry, Sushi just dive bombed for the table. She was reaching for the table and it would have really caused quite the jiggle. She was on my shoulder and she decided she was going down. And today, so anyways, this is Elissa from Mink Arts and Crafts, and today we are going to do a long overdue update on my daily highs temperature stitch along cross stitch conversion project that I've been working on for most of the year. I think I started working on it back in March, and here we are in coming up on the end of November. So I figured I was long overdue on an update for you guys on where we are and how the process is going. So I wanted to kind of put this out so you guys can see before we get to the end of the year and it is completely finished, give you guys that final update before the end of the year and it gets completed. So anyways, we're going to go over the drills and I'll talk a little bit about that. I actually have had to put the lids on. I never have used the lids for the Elizabeth Ward containers until moving into the RV and all of this stuff. And now for storage, because space is a commodity here, I end up putting the containers when they're not in use. I put them up in the storage cabinets up along the walls because they fit in sideways and stack on each other, and I don't want to worry about dropping one and having the lids not on and having these go everywhere. So anyways, this paper here has been my cheat sheet for the daily highs and everything else. And from January all the way through this line here, which was the 29th of October, this is my other little cheat sheet over here. That has been what I decided to do because I did move from California to Florida in October, November timeframe. So I was I could have kept this all, all of the temperatures for California, but that wouldn't reflect where I'm actually at. So to reflect where I actually was during that time, I decided to make it actually accurately reflect my location. So January through the 29th of October, that little dotted line was, as you can see right over here, 29 Palms. That's where I was in California. And then I put the 30th of October to the 1st of November, San Antonio, because I got to San Antonio the night of the 30th. I was there all day on the 31st for a concert, and then left on the 1st of November. So that 3 days I was in San Antonio for some of the day. So I decided to mark those 3 days as San Antonio, so I didn't have to try to pick a random location of wherever I stopped for that night, because I was in San Antonio for part of each of those 3 days. So that was San Antonio, and then from the 2nd of November to the 19th of November, and you can see these lines annotated here. And then the 2nd of November up to the 19th of November, I was in Perry, which is Florida, and the 20th of November on I've been here in Jacksonville, Florida, which is where I am now. So from moving forward for the rest of the year is going to be in Jacksonville, and that will be reflected right over here. So that's kind of what I decided in case anybody had a question about what I was going to be doing for the reflecting where I was. That was the decision that I made. I've been doing good on colors. There have been a couple colors that I felt like I was running low on, some of the colors for the hundreds. But now that I'm into winter, I'm not worried about that anymore, because we had a lot of days you'll see reflected. I'm not going to be using any of the 110s, 100s, 90s. The 100s I was starting to run low on. Now I've got some days that I'll still be using down into the 80s, these greens. And then I should start to pop down into this lovely teal of the 70s. That's where I should be starting to drop down into, are more of those colors there. I did run out of the 433. I had, so the two colors that I did have to buy more of was the 310 for the background. I used all of the 310 that I had in my extra drills, and so it only because I was working out of basically 4 sets of Art Dot DMC squares is what I was working out of. And for most of them, it was just a pack of, I think it's the 1,000 drills or so, is what are in here for these. And then it was the 433 and the, I think it's the 3772. These are the two colors, the 433 and the 3772 are what make up the majority of all of these shelf colors. I think those are the two colors. Yeah, that's that pale one So this is the pale color of the shelf, and the 433 is this darker brown on the shelves. So those two colors were the ones that take up like a permanent color that are in a lot of it. And then the 310 as the background color. So I had 4 sets of Art Dot square drills that I had for this. And then I had some extra like random 310 square drills, couple like partial baggies. And I did end up having to go on, I went on, because I think that covered me to like here. Yeah, I think it covered me most of these 2 rows and the first 2 rows up at the top. Let me pull this down so you can see most of those first 2 rows right here. And then I think part of this 3rd row with the 310. But then I ended up buying this big bag of 310 off of, I think I got it off of AliExpress, which was pretty much full when I started. And I've got like, I'm down to 1 2/3 rows to go, and this is what I have left so far. So this should last for that last row and a third, hopefully, so that way I don't have to buy more. But if I do have to buy more, I'll buy more. But that's where I'm at for drills. And then I did have to buy more of the 433 this color because I did run out of that color, because these are the drills basically what they looked like, just the little 1,000 drill packs. And I ended up having to buy more of the 433, which just came in, and I'll show you when I get down there. I think they're going to end up being a slightly different color because they're not the Art Dot ones, because I didn't want to buy an entire DMC pack of drills. So I just bought some drills off of AliExpress, and they might end up being a slightly different shade, but it's going to be close enough that I'm not worried. They're going to be a close enough brown, and it'll do the job. Now I'm kind of curious to see how similar they are. Ooh, it's an awfully little full container. Man, they really packed those drills into the container. Goodness. So now I need to clean up my little spilled drill mess. So I'm going to leave a drill out so I can look at it and compare it and see how close it looks. All right, we're going to close that little container. So I didn't know how many I would need. I think I only really needed 1 of these containers, but I ended up getting 2, but I'm like, whatever. It's a common colored brown, so that'll be fine. Let me grab a pen real quickly so I can kind of like hold it side by side next to some other ones. The drill over, and we are going to move the drills out of the way. Well, actually, I should just put the lid on the drills. I'm going to put these back in here, and let me put my 310 back in here before, oh, that's where I've been looking for this. That's what happens when you work out of multiple whips going on at the same time. And I'm just going to go ahead and put these in here, since that's what I bought them for. And that way, they're all in one location. And I can just be like, all right, that's that. And then my 310 can go up right there. And that way, and that's the nice thing about slapping the lid on, because now it's out of the way. All right, we're going to turn on this overhead so we get a little bit, it's going to give us a little bit of a glare in the center. But I want to see color difference between this and one of these. Oh, no, actually, that's like a very, very close match. We're going to zoom in on that so you guys can see. Because I know you guys can't see that. Let me go ahead and do it right in here so you can see the difference. Yeah, that's actually a really good color match. So I'm really pleased with that, because that's very much like, you can't even really tell the difference between the two. So that's fantastic. I love it. I'm pleased. Just looking at it from the distance, there's some slight coloration differences, but it's so subtle that it's perfect. I am extremely pleased that will do the job for that 433. So let me zoom you guys back out and turn that overhead light back off, and we will take a look at the canvas and see where we're at. Let me get back out here. Boop. All right. So we have our overview of the canvas and where we're at. So as you can see up at the top, I know we've gone over this before. We've got the border done, and this is the Spookie Library potion. I think technically it's like the potion bottles, something like that. There are, because I am using like just cheap acrylic squares, and some of them don't I didn't place very well at the very beginning because I was like, especially with these 310 up here, this first column or two, I may have to go in and seal the first column just because the squares are not placed very well and they were like not the greatest. I was using not very good 310 up in there. The 310 that I'm using for the rest is holding up really nicely, and the way that I worked to place it is doing a much better job, so they're doing much better. But the 310 that I used in the first part and the way that I placed it, there's some uneven sized drills and they kind of like want to pop up, and it's just doesn't work very well. But I love seeing this gradation. So you can see the colors that we had the much cooler January, February into the March, started warming up April. So we started into like the 50s, 60s, a little bit into like the 70s, 80s there. One day into the 90s. That was our January. Then we have February, March, more of those teals, which are the really pretty ones that are into the 70s. The greens are the 80s. So we had a hot spell there in January. Our April was more of that. May, we had a lot more of our 90s, 80s, 90s, which are similar colors. So January, February, March, April, May. This is June right here. So there's our June, which you can see it started getting a lot warmer. July. Sorry, the furnace turned on, or the heat pump turned on, and it's really noisy, so I had to turn it off real quickly. July right here. And then I finally got the this bright orange that you see right here. These 3 drills, that's the 120 plus days. Those 3 days were over 120. And I did those, and I was like, oh, darn it, I forgot to bring drills to do those with. So these 3 days are actually in like a pixie dust color because I didn't have anything else. Drill wise, because I worked on this, I kind of put it off and didn't work on it until I had already started the move process and all my stuff was packed up in storage. So all my special drills were in storage, and I was like, well, and because they were in transit from, California to Florida. So these ones are actually, it's October. I think that's, July and August. Right there, those 3 days that were above 120, the orange in them is a pixie dust. It's subtle though, so it's not something that's a super obvious to notice that they're a pixie dust, but I'm like, blazing gates of hell for temperature. That's kind of fitting to have it be like a special glittery sparkle to it. So anyways, that's what those orange colors were that I chose for those 3 days there. But I finally there's our August, which I had done minus those, and you'll notice the white spots. I've been filming this before I've gone back through to fill in the missing 433 that I just showed you right over in here, because I just got that in. So I did good. So there's our August, which I had done minus those 3, and then September, which I did not have done. So you guys have not seen September yet, because I didn't work on this at all in September or really October. I only started working on it in November. But I got October done minus these. This is right here is where I got the base of the bookshelf done, and then I got all the way through to like right here with the 433, and that's where I ran out. So now you're seeing all of the white where I ran out of the 433. So that I can now fill in because I do have the 433 now. And then the tricky part was working, and then I did October as well. And you can see our little pumpkin for October looks kind of funny because he's supposed to be filled in with 433 as well. And then, of course, the rest of the shelves. It was tricky as I was filling in the black here. I had to keep reminding myself, no, leave those 2 columns blank. And then for spacing for everything else, I had to keep reminding myself when I was doing my count, I had to add 2 columns. Because normally I count from the base of that bottom line, but the base of the bottom line is white. So I had to remember, don't count from here, count from the white line for my counting there. But now I can start filling in this, and you can see how much cooler we went. So my October, and then October 29th, basically right here was my last day in this is my last day in California, and then these The 30th, 31st, and the 1st were in Texas, and then starting here with these ones on were in Florida. So I only really got the first 10 days done because I like usually do these 10-ish days or so at a time. So I got the first 10 days done, and then I haven't picked it up, and now I need to sit it back down because now that we're past the 20th, and do the next 10 days and then finish out the last little bit. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. Yeah, because I got 11 days done, and now I can finish filling out the rest of it. Normally I go through and do all of the browns, the constant colors first, and then I go in and fill in the individual days. But that's the next thing on here, is to finish this out. Mochi's sitting there judging me. Do that, but I'm loving how it's looking, and I'm loving that the temperatures have like dropped back down into these beautiful greens, which were the 80s. So these were down into the 80s, but I should start to have a couple days that will drop down into the 70s, kind of over into this portion here. It'll be like 80s, 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 and then a few days that drop down into the 70s. I'm laughing at Mochi because it's a little chilly, so she has buried herself in a blanket. She's climbing under the blanket right now on the arm of the love seat. It's a little chilly. I think it's like 60. Well, I turned off the heat pump, which is set to turn on when it gets to 68 inside. So it's a little chilly in here now because it's down to 68. And I'm wearing like a hoodie and a flannel and sweatpants because that's cold for me. And then I've got the rest of November to finish out. And then December, and we will be done. I'm like super excited for this because this is something that has been, like essentially like a labor of love to do a project that lasts this long. But the gradient in the colors is just like, oh, it is beautiful. I love it. It's something that is super fun. I think I'm like, if I were to do a temperature project, it's kind of fun doing it like a month at a time. But at the same time, I kind of like being able to work on a project straight through. So I'm like, I don't know if I will do a temperature project next year, or if I'll just do, like, if I were to do one, it would probably be one that I just do as here's the temperature for the year, and I do it at like the end of the year. I don't know. I haven't decided what I'm going to do for next year. I have a big project that's going to be like a year-long project for 2025 that is a massive cross-stitch conversion. So that one's almost like, it's like 3.5 feet by 3.5 feet. It's a huge one. So I'll probably work on that one as opposed to working on a cross stitch and a temperature SAL. We'll see. Or if I do a temperature SAL next year, I pick something a little smaller than this one. But it was a pleasure to work on this one. And I'm excited to have just like these last little bit to go for you guys. But that's kind of where we're at. Now I get to fill in these empty slots of these browns with the 433 and then kind of go from there. But yeah, that's our update on where we're at and how it's turning out, and you kind of get that in-depth look of it. I love how they threw the pumpkin in for October. It would have been kind of cool to see him like over here on the 31st. That would have been kind of cool. Or to see more spooky stuff, because what's kind of interesting is we had a lot of like these additional colors and like these constant things, these little figures and these things like this that were added in earlier in the year, and then as we start getting down here, you get very few of those. There's like very few. I think this is one here, our little guy there, but we're starting to get very few of those like additional things coming down into this the further down we get. So that's something that's kind of an interesting aside. Like, we had a lot of extra colors to add further up the canvas, and then as I got down, I'm like, literally the only colors here are the colors of like the bottles from over here of like the temperatures that are on my chart, and then the browns. That's literally all I have in this column. No other special colors. So that was kind of interesting, and I just realized that that's a little bat. I like didn't realize this was a little bat. I just thought it was like a little, and that's another little bat. I did not realize those were little bats. I thought they were just like little splashes of color or something. I didn't realize they were bats, and I just realized that one I probably need to move him over a little bit, or maybe that one's not a bat, but these two are definitely bats. Those are most definitively bats right there. I thought they were just like splashes of color of some type, but I think they are actual like bats sitting on top of the potion bottles, which is kind of cute. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys for today. So I hope you guys enjoy seeing this little update on our year-long project. And I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.